welcome to Counseling Talk again. Now, here we have another anonymous question. The question is, we have a good sex life, but it's not the same as our honeymoon. What do we do? And there's some more there's some more details in that question, but we'll leave it at that. I want to thank you for throwing that question out here to me, and let's dive into it. Right. So at some point, right in your honeymoon, you found that your sex life was exactly what you wanted it to be, and then now you're labeling it as we have a good sex life, but it's not what you wanted it to be, during that honeymoon stage. And maybe a lot of individuals out there, you connect to that. You're kind of looking at your marriage or your relationship, and you're able to say, all right, right now, our sex life is a little bit different, than it was a year ago, 5 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it may be. And what's really nice and neat is that, you're provoking this question, this conversation, because a conversation strengthens relationship, whether it's, verbal communication or nonverbal, because it means that we're working, we're moving forward in a direction and we're interacting with our partner. One area that I want us to look at, and I say us because maybe there's more of you out there that are interested in what to do here. And there's a lot that we can do. I don't just want you to, narrow your action to be connected to just this video. I'm going to give you, some nuggets here. There's a lot of resources out there in the community. So the nuggets here I want to share with you is to look at why this becomes a concern or a question. So if I'm this individual and I'm the one asking the question of, our sex life is good, but it's not as good as it was, during our honeymoon. I want to figure out is there something deeper in there? And then a good resource to utilize is the 5 love languages. So maybe with my partner, we can both go take the 5 love languages. And let's say that my highest one was physical touch. Well, then from there, I can incorporate that into this question. I can share with my partner and say, hey, listen, my highest one is physical touch. So then she may say, well, what does that really mean? And then I can share all these really awesome sex positions that I want to enjoy. And I can say, I like intimacy time. I like foreplay, oral, whatever it may be, right? I'm just open. I'm an open book and I'm sharing everything. And then, she's listening and she's receptive. And she's like, okay, your love language is physical touch and this is kind of what you're looking for. So what I'm doing also is I'm bridging a gap, because there's a gap with the question that this individual asked, right? The gap of our sex life is good now, but before, during the honeymoon, right, it may have been way better. So something happened. There's a gap there, and I want to bridge that gap. So by engaging in the conversation of the 5 love language, which is just a tool, I'm utilizing it as a tool. And my partner is able to say, okay, well, Juan enjoys these sex positions or these acts and these things. So then from there, we put it into play. And maybe we can put it into play by saying, you know what, for the next 14 days, tell me what your love language is. And maybe she says quality time. And then I just really just push that for 14 days, all day, 24/7. And then for mine, she does the same thing. And then we then evaluate. We see what happens during those 14 days. And again, we're trying to bridge that gap. So that's one strategy I want to share with you. The other is utilizing like a fun game system, often with the topic of sex and intimacy. Sometimes we shy away from it. We get nervous. It could be a little bit taboo. It could be really easy for someone to say, hey, I didn't have a really good time as far as like quality time, hanging out at that restaurant because the music was too loud and I didn't really get to communicate with you. Versus, hey, whenever you were going down on me, that one thing you were doing didn't really feel that good, right? So that second one may be really tough to say versus the other one. And often it's just due to our comfort level, the way that we grew up, maybe at home, we saw our parents kiss all the time, hard to kiss. And then we went into the relationships and past relationships that we had, maybe they didn't give us exposure to communicating on intimacy and the way that, in the way that connects to now with our comfort level, which is okay. Because we can always grow, we can always build. It's entirely okay. It's okay to be who you are in every way. So then from here, I want to share this really fun game. It's not tough to do at all, which, I like that about counseling and psychology. How can we get these really complex things that have someone in, college or grad school going, oh, what is this concept? And just make it, as simple as possible. So you can get a sheet of paper, and on this sheet of paper, you cut it into slips. And then you're going to write some really generic questions. What's your favorite sex position? What do you think my favorite sex position is? What's your favorite thing to do to me sexually? What's my favorite thing to do to you sexually? And then you keep going. Questions just like that. Favorite time to have sex? Worst sex position, whatever it may be. So then you write all these questions down, and you sit down with your partner, and now you've got like this, all these slips of paper, and you put it in a bowl. And then your partner has a notebook or a notepad, something to write on, and you have something to write on and something to write with. And then you pull one out, and the first one says, "What's your favorite sex position?" So then now you're both probably grinning at each other, and then your partner writes a response, you write a response, right? You're not looking, you're not peeking. And then after you're both done, then you go, okay, time to share. And then you see what happens there. It's just from an logical, meaning, like it's an experience that allows you and your partner to immerse, into that experience and then to learn more about each other. It reduces some of those defensive walls, the same walls that keep us away from each other. And it allows the conversation of intimacy and sex to be no different than, saying, I prefer this type of spaghetti versus that type. That's the only example that came to my mind at the moment. But hopefully you found some nuggets in this conversation. Try the strategies out. I do think they are extremely helpful as long as you implement them and then you go about them with consistency, with optimism and consistency, right? So I said that twice. If it didn't work the first time, try it again and then see what happens as you go forward. If you enjoyed this video, share it with anyone in your community that you think, would benefit from it. As always, subscribe, share, hit a like, right? Hit me up with a thumbs up, and then comments are always welcome. I'm happy to communicate with you and share some dialogue. Take care and have a great rest of the day.